Hello again, Ian Schmidt from Tin Shed Distilling yet again to tell you about our newest release, the Solera. The Solera fills a need we haven't been able to fill because we haven't had the volume to do it, but now we're finally getting production volumes up. We can supply a whisky which the trade is demanding, which is consistent, sort of, and interesting to drink, and probably suits the average whisky drinker more than it does your whisky nerd or your whisky geek. The whisky geeks tend to like the whiskies and they talk about it the same way I do, and they get orgasmic about it and talk about things like foreplay and orgasms with their whisky. The average bloke who walks into a Dan Murphy store doesn't do that. He just wants something nice to drink, and that's what this is. Now, a Solera, for those of you who aren't familiar with the term, is a method of maturing whiskies and sherry traditionally, and port and brandy and other spirits and drinks, where you sort of average out over a period of time the results of different barrels. So you might have in the classic Solera, you might have a row of barrels on the floor which are 5 years old, and above that you might have a row of barrels which are 4 years old, and above that you might have a barrel row which is 3 years old, 2 years and 1 year, and so on. And the theory is you take a percentage out of the bottom barrels, say 25%, and you top that up with 25% of the barrels that are 1 year younger. And when you've emptied a bit out of those barrels, you top them up from barrels above that, which are a year younger again. So over time you get a very smooth, average flavoured whisky, and you get a very slight increase of age, and theoretically 10 years into the Solera you're getting a few molecules of a whisky in our case, or a sherry in the case of a Bodega in Spain, which is in excess of 10 years old. So the average age of the Solera goes up, the average quality increases ever so slightly, and the quality remains fairly consistent. Hence we've made the Solera. This is the Solera. It is made from whisky which has mostly been matured in Shiraz barrels, mostly from the Barossa and a few from the Adelaide Plains. And the whisky was made from malt that was smoked by the dry peating method, much the same as we did with the Fluster Cluck a few months ago. Anyway, that's it. Nice dark colour. It's designed to be a whisky which has an attractive price point, and this sells for about $95 retail, but it is only a 500ml bottle. It's mostly designed to go out through the trade, but it will be available to Den members on the Den if you want some. And it is smoky, instantly hit with a bash of smoke. It's a bit reminiscent of campfires or when it's been raining. And it's a big hit on the nose straight away. Rather pleasant actually. On the back of the nose you can just detect a little bit of wininess, a bit of gently well-aged wine, but not astringent, not too much of it as you find in a few Australian whiskies. It's really quite pleasant. On the palate it's quite full and well-rounded and really rather well-balanced, to be honest with you. The smoke and the wine are actually dancing a slow waltz on the tongue. It's really quite romantic. It gets you a bit that way, this whisky. It makes you feel along those lines. The finish is long and lingering, and it gets better with time. It actually gets stronger after a few minutes before it starts to fade off into the distance. Really quite a well-balanced whisky. And in the interest of science, we have test-driven it with mixers, because it's designed to be drunk with mixers or in cocktails, because you really don't want to be making a whiskey sour and old-fashioned with a $180 bottle of whiskey. It's much better off doing it with a $95 bottle of whiskey. And in the interest of science, we have tried it with Coke. I can't say that Coke did a lot for the whiskey, but I can tell you that the whiskey did wonders for the Coke. I've never tasted better Coke. Anyway, enjoy. Sláinte. I've got to now stop and check the notes. Shit, I've forgotten already. Oh, fuck, that's terrible.